Hey guys, it's Julie Spencer, author juliespencer.com. I am going to devote the next couple of videos on how to write romance to one of my favorite topics, and that is sex. Oh, scandalous, I know. Actually, a lot of what we're going to talk about today is going to be focused on things that I wrote about in my book called Writing Romance is Not About Sex, or Is It? And the subtitle for this book is How Far is Too Far in Clean Romance? And although the book focuses on clean romance, I'm not going to assume that you, as the watcher of this video, writes clean romance. I'm going to assume that you write romance and that you want to improve your romance. And so that's kind of where we're going to focus. But just kind of, disclaimer that I write semi-sweet romance and not perfectly clean romance, kind of toes the line. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later in either this video or the next. So heat level is one of the first things that people take into consideration when deciding to read a particular book, not just in romance books, in any book. For instance, let's take a space opera, for example, okay? So if you have an adventure in space and you're trying to save the princess and the evil emperor is going to blow up the planet and you have to save the princess, when you save the princess, that she gives him a kiss on the cheek for luck. Okay, you probably already know that I'm talking about Star Wars, one of my favorite movies. Okay, so compare the difference between a little kiss on the cheek for luck, or if the princess were to want to thank the hero in nonverbal ways and they climb in the back seat of the speeder, and then the reader is getting a lot different story in that scenario. So if you are wanting to write a spicy romance, you want to include the back seat in the speeder. If you want to write a clean romance, the kiss on the cheek for luck is kind of like the ultimate, like, far clean romance. So we're going to talk a lot more about the different genre expectations for both the spicier side and the cleaner side. Just kind of taking that into consideration, that that it is important to consider. So like, because that alone could change the whole like rating of your book. Like if this was a movie, that the difference between a kiss on a cheek and climbing in the back of the speeder would be the difference between like PG and R rated, or at least PG-13. So you've got to really take those things into consideration. Why is this so important? Because readers feel it's important. If they're expecting a kiss on the cheek and the climb in the back seat of the speeder, you're going to get really bad reviews. Same thing as if they're expecting a nice spicy adventure and all they get is a kiss on the cheek, they're also going to get bad reviews. So authors don't want bad reviews. We don't want angry readers. Angry readers are bad. So we're going to try to avoid those at all costs. And the best thing that you can do is make sure that your back cover, the information on the back cover that's going to tell what the book is about, make sure that accurately reflects the heat level. Make sure that the cover, if you've got a spicy book, you're probably going to have a guy and a girl that are, scantily clad or something. Whereas if you got a clean romance, you might make sure that all the clothes are on and stuff. So there are ways that you can make sure that you tell your readers what the heat level is for your book. So heat level can be used to position your book in the market depending on where you want it and where the expectations are. So in using the old adage that sex sells, don't sell a clean romance by telling the reader that there's sex in the book. Your reader is going to get just as angry if they think there's going to be sex and there's not, than if they think there's not going to be sex and there is. So religious books in particular, don't. My best advice is to not include sex in a religious book unless it's like really clear that it has to do with the topic. In fact, religious people have lots of babies, so they have lots of sex. So it's not people who are in a religious story don't have sex, but then in a religious story, and I'll go into this a little bit more in the next videos, but in a religious story, a lot of what the characters' decisions are being made from their romance perspective are being made based on their religious perspectives. Like, for instance, there are certain religions that it's very important that they don't have sex before marriage. So that can be a conflict if they're tempted to have sex before marriage, or if the characters are breaking their laws of chastity and they're not, waiting for marriage. That can add a lot of different dimensions to a story. So you're kind of using sex strategically in that point. It can actually be used as a literary element to, to strategically develop the story using sex. So think about the point of your story. You're not writing a romance based on a pig talking to a spider in the corner about, how, what is that, some pig or something. Charlotte's Web. My husband teaches second grade. He loves things like Charlotte's Web. That's not a romance novel. So that's not what you're focused on. You're focused on, romance between two people falling in love. So it's okay that love leads to sex. If not, what's the purpose of falling in love, right? But that doesn't mean that the sex has to occur in the book. And if it does occur in the book, it doesn't have to show up on screen. So sex can, be used as a main conflict, narrative, personification, a poem, a song, a rock star. I mean, rock stars are sexy, right? Football players, firemen, these are often referred to as sexy, even though there isn't actually sex involved. So however you choose to use or strategically not use sex in your context or your story, using sex strategically can add strength and depth to your story. So in the next video, we're going to talk about the different genre expectations based on heat level. So I hope that you'll join me for that. If you want to get in touch with me, the easiest way is by email, and my email is julie@spencerpublishingllc.com. That's julie@spencerpublishingllc.com. And you can also find my books on authorjuliespencer.com and information about my author coaching at spencerpublishingllc.com. So hope to see you in the next video and hope you have a great day.